So, I am Isaiah Christopher Kempi Pumbueno from BAT 2V Automotive. So, our topic for today, lesson 4, electrical system problems. So, our picture like that is electrical issues. So, starting system. So, slow cranking, it identifies high resistance in solenoid contacts. So, if mechanical engine fault, spin main bearing cause drag on crankshaft, then rebuild entire engine. Typical electrical problems: loose, dry, and controlled terminals and connectors, discharge and fully battery, faulty starter motor, faulty control circuit, typical mechanical problems, says piston or bearing, hydrostatic lock and liquid in cylinders, incorrect ignition and valve timing, says alternator or other belt-driven device. Determine test by the likelihood of the fault. Example, if vehicle in parking lot, better change fault is electrical. So, our starting system, so mostly electrical problems. So, mostly mga nasisira yung mga connectors din dahil sa may mga corrosions. Then sa katagalan hindi nagagamit. So, next. Measure starter motor, current draw first. Slow crank with low draw, high resistance in main starter circuit or the starter. Slow crank with high draw, fault in starter or engine mechanical fault. If mechanical, check oil and coolant and for contamination. If coolant and oil mix, check head gasket and or crankhead block. So, I am explains for this criteria. So, measuring the motors. So, nagkakaroon ng problema dun sa may resistance dun sa circuit natin. So, which is sa starter motor, then sa may slow cranking nung ating system. So, which is our engine mechanical fault. So, next. Charging system. So, electrical system not fully functional, battery not fully charging, supplementation and early battery death, overcharging, short life for electrical component, overcharges battery, increase racing and water loss. So, voltage regulator maintains constant voltage output for alternator to max output current. Always check specs for regulated voltage in non-PCM controlled 12 volts charging system. So I will explain what is charging system. So charging system, yun yung main cause of charging nung battery natin. So yung alternator yung nagiging natin, so yung nagbibigay ng power para ma-charge or recharge yung ating battery. So most problems for our battery yung nawawala ng power, then nadidiskarga. So sa katagalan hindi nagagamit, then yung max output current na binibigay ng ating alternator sa battery. So which is 12 volts doon sa system natin. So, next. If uncharging, loose drive belt, faulty regulator, worn brushes, high resistance in rotor, opens shorted diode, open shortened starter windings, shorter cell on battery. Check ECS and most common faults first. Driving belt spinning, shortened battery cells, inadequate battery capacity. So, I will discuss yung mga karaniwang naging problema sa charging system na. So, yung sirang regulator. So, it is one ng problema. Then, worn brushes. High resistance in rotor. Then, yung masira sa diode. Then, sa windings. So, mostly, may additional akong so, yun yung mga carbon brushes doon sa may motor natin. So, next. Ignition. So, next. Ignition system. Ignition system complains ng starting, hard starting, lack of power, misfiring, lack of engine responsiveness. First, perform visual inspection. Check high tension leads used in scan tool. Check spark plugs. Perform spark test. Perform spark test when engine will not start on one or more cylinders are misfiring. There's are the disability problems. So, our ignition system. So, mostly, yung meaning ng ignition system, ignites yung um, air and fuel mixture dun sa combustion engine natin. So, which is nagkakaproblema dun yung non-starting. So, hard starting, lack of power, misfiring, lack of engine responsiveness. So, merong dun sa system natin. So, which is tine-check natin yun sa pagtetest natin. So, next. Remove the high tension lead or coil from the end of spark plug. So, number 1. Kailangan natin tanggalin yung high tension wire or dun sa sa may spark plug natin. Then, number 2. Connect a spark tester to the both of the coil or high tension lead and attach the clamp to a good ground. So, yung number 2 natin, connect natin yung spark tester dun sa natin, sa may high tension cord natin, which is dun sa spark plug. So, i-ground natin yung tester dun sa may walang pintura, then good ground siya. So, number 3. Crank the engine and watch for the spark across the tester. Electrodes. A properly functioning ignition system will produce a blue spark. So, explain ko na lang yung number 3. So, yung cranking the engine, yung crank yung engine first natin. Then, yung sunod natin gagawin ay tester ng electrodes. So, check natin yon. So, by grounding yung spark doon sa may ating ground or doon sa may body ng makina, makikita natin kung okay ba yung spark, which is blue spark, kulay blue yung spark natin. So, next. Inspect the primary and secondary winding for cuts, abrasions, signs of arcing. So, inspect natin yung secondary winding natin kung may mga putol ba na connections. Then, may mga ba dun na signs na bakit nawawalan ng control, kung bakit nagkakaroon ng misfires. So, which is, check natin. Lagi yan, maintain natin. So, number 1, remove the secondary wire from the entire terminals for the distributor cap. Install a spark tester and crank the engine to see if there is any sparks coming out of ignition coil. So, yung number 1 natin. So, kailangan muna natin tanggalin yung secondary wire doon sa center terminal. So, yun yung nasa picture natin. So, kung nakikita nyo yung picture natin doon sa first, natin. Kailangan tanggalin natin distributor cap doon sa ating rotor. So, number 2, use a test light to connect the red lead of a multimeter to the positive terminal and the coil and the black lead to a good ground with the key switch on typically reads to 10 to 12 volts. So, yung sa number 2 natin, so nakikita nyo yung picture. So, sa paggamit natin ng test light, so, kinakabit natin yung doon sa may contact, doon sa rotor, doon sa may distributor, rotor. So, connect natin sa may positive terminal, doon sa may coil. Then, typical reads natin na kung check natin na 10 to 12 volts yung contact doon sa may distributor natin. So, number 3. Place the red meter lead on the test light probe on the negative side of the coil and the back lead on a good ground. Crank the engine and the test light or meter could be rapid switch off, on, off, and off, indicating the coil is being triggered. So, sa number 3 natin, so procedure ng pagte-test natin. So, paggamit ng test light. So, yung ko-connect natin doon sa may ignition coil natin yung test light. So, tututok natin yung test light doon sa may pulley, doon sa may crankshaft while cranking. So, habang umaandar, parang may tono natin ng tama yung pagte-testing natin doon sa may tamang RPM din, tamang spark testing natin sa may system. So, critical to test ignition coil the proper operation. So, can fail in a few ways. Primary, secondary winding, open the shorted, breakdowns of insulating material. Diagnose the peak of assembly. Test if a vehicle, if not starting view, a lack of spark. So, next. Inspect and test ignition primary and secondary winding of the ignition coils. And all the coil terminal should be clean. So, sa number 1 natin, inspect natin yung by test ignition primary and secondary winding natin. Then, doon sa may mga possible corrosions na meron doon. Number 2, to test the resistance of primary windings, place the ohmmeter lead on each of the 2 primary windings terminals. So, using our ohmmeter, so, connect natin yun doon sa may natin. So, testing na yung resistance ng primary windings doon sa ating ignition coil. Number 3, to test the secondary winding, place 1 ohmmeter lead on the secondary tower terminal and the other to one of the primary terminals or the coil secondary ground if equipped. If it is not with specifications, the coil is faulty, must replaced. So, sa pagte-testing natin nun, using our ohmmeter, natin yung resistance, kung gumagana pa ba and functioning yung ating ignition coil. So, kung pwede pa ba yun or replace na. Number 4. If the coil reads are okay, perform the spark test as if procedure 12 to 1, verifying that the coil can produce a spark within jumps at least 13 millimeters, which is by testing our spark, then kailangan natin tanggalin kabit yung spark plug, then i-ground natin yon, which is kakrunk natin, start natin yung ating engine. So, titignan natin kung okay ba yung spark, which is by 13 millimeters from our ground. So, makikita natin. Lighting indicators and wiring system. Check lighting and peripheral system. Always work in a systematic manner when checking light and peripheral system. Avoid missing and faulty bulb. So, I'm explaining ko na lang yung lighting indicator and warning system. Warning system. So, that's indicate nung problems natin sa system natin. So, make sure the vehicle's horn is working. So, check natin yung mga systems na yun. So, next. Have some stand behind the vehicle report any problems. Turn the ignition to run. Switch on the spark lights, tail lights, marker lights, and number of plate lights. So, by checking natin yung ating wiring system doon sa may lighting system natin, ang headlights, taillights, brake light, then doon sa mga lights doon, which our components doon sa ating auto vehicle na ginagamit natin sa mostly na ginagamit natin for our safety and driving comfortable. So, check and changing the interior lightning bulb. So, sa pag-maintenance ng mga lights, so, kailangan natin check or dispose na ba o kailangan na natin palitan yung mga interior lights bulb natin. So, mismo check natin. Number 1, remove and cover, expose the bulb if the bulb is mounted in a grip and bulb of the one inward. Turn the bulb slide anti-clockwise and remove it from the bulb holder. So, which is, makikita nyo yung picture natin dyan. So, yan yung kailangan muna natin tanggalin yung cover nung ating pag-ikot na ng anti-clockwise dun sa ating bulb housing. So, number 2, inspect the bulb holder to make sure there is no corrosion. So, ito yung mga primary natin. So, check natin yung connectors, which is kung may kalawang or mga corrosions, dumi dun sa ating sealed beam unit. So, dun sa kakabitan natin ng bumbilya. So, which is meron dun na yung beam type, then halogen bulb. Checking and changing the headlight bulb. Number 1. Next. Number 1. Test the vehicle headlights. Obtain the replacement lamps for the vehicle. Unplug the electrical connector and the back of the lamp unit. So, sa number 1 natin, doon sa headlight system natin, so which is doon sa may front natin so obtain natin yung ng unplugging ng electrical connector natin doon sa may headlight bulb housing natin. Then number 2, remove the old bulb and replace with the new one. Handle with the bulb only by its base or if supplied by the hard cover. So, remove natin yung lumang bulb. Then, kakapitin natin yung panibagong bulb. So, pag may maintenance ng ating bulb, then, hindi na natin nililinisan yung mga sides ng ating connector. Then, legal rules can differ from the region to region. Headlights must be aimed correctly, not in comparing oncoming traffic, correct visibility for driver. So, yung comfortability ng paggamit ng headlights natin kung okay ba. Then, kung nasa may tamang ba siya, alignment ng low and high. Next. Number 1, make sure the tires and inflated properly. The wheels point straight ahead and there is no extra weight in the vehicle. Position of the vehicle correctly and direction to the headlamps aligner unit following the equipment manufacturer's instruction. So sa number 1 natin, sa inflated yung pagche-check natin auto vehicle, so which is kung naka-align ba yon, then may mga okay ba yun auto vehicle natin sa pagche-check natin ng wheels dun sa mga alignments, then dun sa may ano ba na manufacturer instruction kung okay ba siya or may mga malfunctions ba. Number 2, the types of aligners that required the headlights to be a during alignment. Turn the headlights on to a low beam setting. So, sa number 2 natin, in terms ng pag-align natin, so, una, kailangan natin nasa low beam settings muna bago natin align yung during i-align natin yung headlight ng ating system. Number 3, the high beam should be centered, falling of the intersections of horizontal and vertical marks or unspecified by the manufacturer. So, sa procedure na pag-align natin ng ating headlights sa sasakyan natin, kailangan natin nung nakasentro, then naka-align dun sa may natin. Which is, tinitignan natin yan kung nasa in front tayo na center ng ating sasakyan sa pag-align ng ilaw natin. So, which is horizontal and vertical marks. Next. Headlights and brightness. Correct and brightness is critical. Causes of excessive brightness. Charging system voltage is too high. High headlights were replaced with an aftermarket sets. Cause for dimness, high resistance in the light circuit. Bulb needs to be replaced. Check digital instrument circuits. Check the electronic control modules of the sensors, connectors, and wires. Doon sa headlight brightness natin na kinakailangan na kinakailangan para ma-maintain natin yung kung kailangan ba maintain or replace yung mga parts. Then, pag-check na ating mga digital instrument units, then sensors and connector, and also our wiring system. Digital instrument circuits. Identify the digital circuit to be tested. Research the correct test procedure for the manufacturer's information. So, check fault codes and circuit PIDs using a scan tool. Inspect the sensor wires and connectors. So, I will explain ng digital instrument circuits do sa ating system. Chine-check natin by our using scan tool or mga testers natin, which is yung like no sa may picture natin na tester natin kung okay ba yung mga connectors, sensor, and wires. Next, checking warning device operation. Warning device provide critical information to driver and should be checked often. Our battery, supplemental restraint system or SRS, anti-lock brake system or our ABS, parking brake, oil pressure, and engine temperature. Checking warnings. Identify the circuit to be tested. Then check fault codes and circuit or PIDs using a scan tool. test the affect units in any one centers with a DVOM. Then, if sensor or devices test is okay, then identify the circuits to be tested. So, our checking natin na pag-maintenance ng aming battery, supplemental system, anti-lock brake system, parking brake, and oil pressure and engine temperatures. So, mga chinecheck activities like no sa picture natin. So, may maintenance nung sa atin yun, like nung sa mga warning devices operations natin. So, thank you for our listening to my report, and I am Isaiah Reciprocan Tipong Beno from BIT2V. Then, thank you so much for listening, guys.